Hi, Minesh Baxi here, and all of us are inspired by great stories. We all have challenges, and sometimes we have setbacks, but we don't realize that somebody else has already gone through what we are going through, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm grateful that we have Jeremiah Campbell here to share his success story, his journey of being an entrepreneur. Jeremiah, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Well, I'm really excited about listening to your story. I know a few things you told me, and I was like, wow, more people need to hear where you came from, where you are, and how you have become successful. And again, everybody's definition of success is different. But tell me a little bit about your background.
Fantastic. Thank you. So everybody loves the underdog story, you know, the guy that made it from the bottom to the top. And fortunately, my life didn't start that way. I was raised in an extremely normal middle class household. Everything was good. Parents were married. Life was great. I had everything that I wanted. And then somehow, some way, I started to party a little too much. Then it became fun. Then it became fun with problems. And it quickly, between the ages of 17 to 21, was a cosmic blur of drunkenness, drugs, partying, just down the rabbit hole of destruction. So I found myself, my family, I wasn't involved in this as a child, but as somehow wrong places, wrong people, wrong influence, social pressures got me to think it was a good idea to do what I was doing. So I didn't think it was always going to end up this way. I never thought that I'd love to be a person of recovery. I consider myself a very blessed person to have gone through what I have gone through because it made me who I am today.
Yeah, it makes you humble, doesn't it?
It forces you to be humble.
Forces you to be humble, okay.
When you're down on your knees and down on your luck, it's hard to give orders.
Yes.
Just like when I pray now, I insist that I pray on my knees because how can you argue or bark orders at anybody's if you're down on your knees praying?
Yes. I think that's definitely a good point that you're mentioning. So obviously you said it was a cosmic blur, things just went by. And how did you, where did you find the courage? What kind of support system helped you get to where you are?
So I call it as the gift of desperation. So it's the gift of desperation to be so broken that you have no hope. That one side of you says maybe it'd be easier just to end it all and make the ultimate sacrifice and take your life. Or on the other side is I know there's something out there that's bigger and better than what I'm doing. So when I was partying, people didn't like to party with me because once I would get into my zone of the drugs and alcohol that I wanted to be in, I was a huge advocate of not partying. People, they called me a buzzkill because I would party with them and they would say, I'd be like, we probably shouldn't be doing this. Like there's something more to it. So my God always put this inside of me and in my heart to know that I was destined for more. I was destined to go out there and to make a real difference in the world. And I didn't know which way that would end up going. And it ended up materializing in a construction company. So that was my first taste of success after getting sober. I was 21 years old. I went to 5 inpatient rehab centers. I had no place to live. I was in my mom's basement. I had no money. The girlfriend at the time, she's now my wife, ended up driving me into rehab, buying me cigarettes. Like I was at the bottom of the barrel.
Wow.
It didn't get much lower than where I was at besides death. Not being able to believe in who I was, not being able to stand for anything, and being a person of recovery. When I was out there drinking and drugging, I would always say I wouldn't do that. And then I'd cross that line. And then I wouldn't do that next one. And then I'd cross that line. And I continued to cross these lines that I knew. And once I knew that I crossed those lines, I had to continue to hang out with people that were worse off. Because I could always keep those guys within sight to say, at least I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
And that was the hope that I actually used, so to continue on. And then I couldn't find anybody worse off than me.
Wow. Makes you reevaluate what your priorities are.
At that point, you have no priorities. It doesn't matter.
Wow.
Because what happens is when you define addiction, it's repeating the same mistakes over and over again and expecting different results. So I was expecting things to change without changing anything. And that's what got me into the world that I'm in today, in the self-development and the mental wellness space, was everybody has a choice when they wake up. So when I wake up, I have a choice to go back to the old ways that I used to live or to go back and continue to live the new way that I live today.
And again, I think you made some great choices. So tell me a little bit about your masonry contracting business. Because I know you started that, right?
Yes. And I started that because nobody would give me a job. So just like most people that are entrepreneurs, they started because nobody would give them a chance. So I started out and I went out and a buddy of mine was at a meeting, one of these 12-step meetings, and he said, hey, you should come hang out with me. And I said, sure, what do you do? And he's like, I fix bricks. And I'm like, sure, let's do that. And what it took for me was he had an energy drink that was a brand name, and he was smoking store-bought cigarettes. I haven't smoked cigarettes in 11 years, mind you.
Good for you.
And thank you. And I was rolling cigarettes because I had nothing.
Huh.
And I couldn't rub $5.
So he could afford something that you couldn't.
And it was inspiring. Again, it was back to that hope. So I saw that, and it ignited the hope in me to where I was desperate to hold on to any side of lifeline. So this gentleman we worked together for a couple weeks. I started doing research. This was early 2006-ish, 2007. The internet wasn't that big yet. I started Googling and YouTubing on how to watch and how to do what these things were. Found out how to get my builder's license within 3 years. I accidentally started a lucrative business.
Good for you.
And it was canvassing, door knocking, and then I did my 2 years in a business. I did my first advertisement with Save on Everything. JB Dollar Stretcher was the first one I did, and he took me from 1 truck to 6 trucks in like a 12-month period.
Huh.
Yes.
That's an amazing success story.
And the gentleman said to me, he looked at me in the face and he goes, Jeremiah, if you believe in my marketing, if you believe in my advertising, I'll personally give you all your money back. That's how much I trust this will work. I'm still friends with him today. And he believed in me enough to where he guaranteed me, and I quadrupled my money. And I'm like, and mind you, I've never been around success in the capacity of financial success with my family's auto workers. They're blue collar. Nobody was ever any entrepreneur. The only entrepreneur I knew was a buddy of mine's parent owned some Tubby's restaurants.
Sure.
That was success.
Huh. Amazing. And there you are. So obviously, growth in success is not easy in business. You have to learn a lot of things that you never did. You have to develop skills that you never had before. So how did you find those skills? How did you find those mentors? How did you actually grow through this process where you were starting out to where you are today?
So I learned early on, I got a book given to me because I was in debt and I wanted to claim bankruptcy. I was like 10 grand in debt and I was going to claim bankruptcy. So I hired an attorney, and the attorney looked at me and he goes, I'm not claiming bankruptcy on you. He goes, what I will do is start your LLC for you. So he started my very first LLC, and he took me through, I was 21 years old, and he took me through that process. Huh. And then the same guy gave me a book by a guy named Kevin Trudeau.
Yes.
He was a coach back, whatever.
Yes, I'm aware of memory programs.
Yes, and he wrote down, and it says, debt cures that they don't want you to know about. And it was one of the first self-development books I ever opened. And in that book, he listed the books that he read. And that was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That was How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was, there was like 3 or 4 books that he went in there. And I went and bought from the used bookstore downtown Detroit. And I still have that very same copy of it.
Excellent.
So my first mentors were books. Until I started being around attracting like-minded people. Same time, The Secret came out, and that was my opening to law of attraction. I don't recommend that so much anymore. We're now into Dr. Joe's work and the epigenetics and stuff like that, to where you really understand how the law of attraction and like-minded, focused, and consciousness works. But my first mentor called me up and asked to mentor me. And he was just retiring. He was really good in the real estate industry. He called me up, and I bought my first house from him, and I impressed him. He was like, wrote 6 or 7 books, and he's like, I would love to have the opportunity to mentor you.
Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing for
Thank
you
you
to be able to get that opportunity. And you were one of those people who he thought was open to it, and he was willing to reach out to you.
Correct.
So whatever you did to attract that to your life and the people around you. So that's fantastic. I know we talked about the book Traction, I think. Mm-hmm. So I know you have applied some of those principles as well from Gino Wickman's book Traction, EOS, etc. I was having coffee with an EOS implementer yesterday
Which
as
one?
well. Mike Gruley, I don't know if you know.
Yep.
You know Mike? Okay.
Yeah, Dwayne Marshall's my implementer.
Okay, fantastic. Yes. Great people who have helped a lot of businesses create a structure and a process in their business that they didn't have before. And I think everybody needs to grow to the next level through those processes. They just can't go there. It just won't happen for them. So what are some of the things you're passionate about? I know you were talking about mental wellness as an example.
So everybody has bandwidth, and everybody can do. I used to think my superpower was multitasking, and I still kind of think it is until I was caught by a coach. So I write checks to coaches. I believe in coaches.
Sure.
So if I can cut a check to a coach that can get me somewhere 10 times faster because they've made the mistakes. Mentors are fantastic. Mentors have done this before and they can take you there. Coaches could direct you. I'm a huge advocate at masterminds, huge advocate of coaches. I write big checks to hang out with people that are like-minded. I pay big checks to coaches that are going to expedite my process. When I know somebody's serious in their business, because when people pay, they pay attention. So the bigger checks they write, the bigger and faster they're going to be able to implement things like traction. Traction implementers are expensive. However, I would not be able to be sitting here today without Dwayne Marshall and my traction implementer. It wasn't possible because the business was running me. I didn't have a grip on my business. I didn't have processes. I thought it was all about the outcome. The outcome's undeterminable. I don't know what my outcome's going to be until I can teach myself in a team, in my leadership team, the processes. So processes are everything. Well, if I've never been an entrepreneur and I don't have anybody that's been in my realm, how can anybody teach me the processes? They can't. So I have to pay somebody to come and actually do this for me. And that opened up this opportunity to be here. So some of my passions are because of the change that I've had over the last 10 years, the last decade of my life. I was literally pretty much homeless, living in my mom's basement, had nowhere to go, to running a multi-million-dollar businesses. I've started other multi-million-dollar businesses, sold them, exited them, still running them. The opportunity and process, I'm a creator. So what does it take to get you from this point to this point? So my wife and I have started a podcast called Destined to Be. It's a podcast that you can find on any one of the platforms. And our main focus is mental wellness. So mental wellness, we've always looked at the programs that you can take. You can take an e-course, or you can go to this mastermind, or you can go to this event. But it's changing the way that you show up in your day-to-day life. And I'm a firm believer through my meditations and through all the supplements that we're involved with, that you can get to the next level whenever you choose to take that first step. So people are so bogged down with the monotony of their day, and they're caught up in their business that they can't work on their business. And that's what traction in my day-to-day implementation of my processes and my procedures and the coaching practices that we're involved with, and the clients that I coach, I'm able to take them to see where they are, because most people don't even know where they are or where they want to go. So where are they going? They're going really fast, but they're treading water. They're not going anywhere. So we take somebody, we find out where they are, and then we find out exactly where they want to go. But we go deeper than that. We can bring the Enneagram into it, and we can find out what really fuels them up. Like, I'm an Enneagram 7. I'm an enthusiast. So if I can't be enthusiastic about something, it deadens my soul. And if I can't show up, that means I'm not as good of a father. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. I've been married for 8 years, and I continue to just travel down a path of who I'm destined to be and who I'm destined to become. And that's why our podcast is called Destined to Be.
Very exciting, very exciting. How do people get hold of you? I'd love to have people actually reach out to you.
I love that. Thank you. So you can I'm usually on Instagram as one of my main connections. LinkedIn, I'm Jeremiah Campbell. Instagram, Jeremiah_Campbell. Or you can reach out to us on our website, destinedtobepodcast.com, or just go on Apple or Spotify and Destined to Be Podcast.
Wow, that's fantastic. What is success for you now at the level where you are?
I used to, within the last 3 months, I used to say being happy.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's being fulfilled, and fulfillment just progressing towards my ultimate goals. And that's inspiring others to be who they're truly meant to be, and to get past the blockages in their life and show up in the world how God truly intended for them to be.
Very good. Well, absolutely a pleasure meeting you today, Jeremiah. And I know a lot of people watching are going to be inspired so that they can, regardless of their circumstances, find the energy, find the people to support them, and actually get to the next level where they want to be. And I'm sure all of you have enjoyed this information today. Thanks, Jeremiah.
Thank you.